college.
College, but
College.
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 Like college.
college.
Welcome to another episode of What's Going On with Youth Matters Media. In our series on the paths after high school, we've discussed the pressures and influences on teens graduating high school and the value of different degrees. In this episode, we will explore alternative options to college. We will explore what the options are and how you can find the right path for yourself. We started by talking to Miss Eden, a guidance counselor at Somerville High School, about opportunities she sees for her students.
I think one of the things that I really liked about Somerville High School, Somerville High School is in the city of Somerville, but right next to Boston, Cambridge, there are many opportunities here. Where I was in Arizona, there was a city there. I was in Tucson, Arizona, but there were only so many different businesses and only one university, one community college. Whereas here we have so many different things. So we have students that can get involved in almost anything they want, and they can get there on the train, they can get there on the T, the bus.
Here's what Matt McLaughlin had to say about taking advantage of opportunities even closer to home.
College, military, none of these things. These are just tools for your greater purpose. If you have a background, if you want to be in communications, if you want to make movies and documentaries, you can go to SCAT any day of the week and start working on that. And then you have a few years of that, you're already ahead of somebody who probably has a bachelor's degree in communications.
We wanted to see how students viewed these alternative paths, so we talked to Amal and Kachin, who were both students at Somerville High School, about their perspectives on how vocational is presented as an opportunity.
I believe there's a stigma towards vocational program and how it's not really presented as much of an option as I believe it should. Like when I did tours for the 8th graders, I got to visit all the vocationals and it's not what I had expected. There's a lot more to it. And there are different paths to vocational because I feel like a lot of people think that if you take vocational, you can only go into that career path. Like you don't have other options. So I feel like if they were more open about the vocational program, which I believe they are, I feel like they could definitely continue it.
So I think the talk about college is actually minimal except in advisory. But in advisory, college is the only path they give you. All we talk about is 4-year, community college and all that. The application SATs, pre-SATs. That's all for college. And if you're doing a trade, you don't need any of that. And since I'm in vocational, sometimes we talk about right after high school, you go into that path. Many people, they take 3, even maybe possibly 4 blocks of electrical, and right after high school they go straight into that trade instead of going to college at all.
As we learned about these opportunities, we became curious. What do these alternative paths look like for the people who choose them? We started with Matt McLaughlin and his journey to a successful path.
I realized that wasn't going to happen. I joined the military and served in Iraq for 2 tours and covered the war in Iraq as a journalist. So that was really a fulfilling job to me. And I recently just got a job in public affairs as well from that experience. So I do think it's a positive thing for a lot of people. I don't force it on people. I try to give them the pros and the cons because you could die, first and foremost. Not many jobs have that description where, death is a possibility. So there's pros and cons to it. It'll take care of your education, which is great, give you great life experiences or horrible life experiences. So those are all things, everything you do, you're just going to weigh your options. And it's finding a field. It's finding a career path. And, say a totally different example, someone who wants to go to school for the arts or go to school for philosophy. Just keep in mind, you're not going to get a job in philosophy unless you become a professor yourself. And, you can do that, follow that path. I have a friend who's teaching school in Denmark right now, and he's been in college his entire life. But that's what he loves. That's what was driving him. He got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and now he's got a PhD, and he can do whatever he wants. He can teach in any part of the world.
Another common alternative to college is taking a gap year, but what does that really mean, and who could benefit from it?
I do like the idea of waiting to go to college until you have a good idea of what to do. So whether that means taking a gap year or working a little bit and then going to college, I think that's a great idea because it means you don't spend the first year to spending money to not know what you want to do, right? Which is kind of fun, but it's still not as great as what you could be doing, I guess.
I love gap years. I think it's a great idea that unfortunately our culture doesn't support just yet. You meet people from Australia and it's expected of you to take a year of travel to yourself, either before or after college. And that's just something that we don't really value right now in America, and we totally should. Because, example for myself, I took several years between school and ended up caring more about my education than I ever would have if I just went through the motions and did it. And I think, a lot of people 18, 19 years old, they're not thinking about the big picture of their life or the value of learning in general. They're just trying to get the degree so they can get the job and do what they want to do in life. There's downside to gap years. The more time away you spend, the harder it is to get back into the system. So, you spend 4 or 5 years not in college. People, when you go to college, when you go to a job, they're going to ask, what have you been doing for this past year? And if you've been hanging around, then that's not a good sign. If you've been traveling the world, some people might think that's cool, but they might want the person who is going to be there every day of the week working.
With all these options, we found an interesting pattern. Many people's paths are irregular and fractured.
I've had a really irregular path. I graduated from high school, went to college, dropped out, joined the military, got out of the military, got a degree, ran for office before I had a job. So I ran for office before I had a career. Most of my colleagues, all of my colleagues, had a full-time stable employment. I'm the only renter on the board. Everybody else is a homeowner. So I've had a really irregular path.
I think I was interested in economics and being a stock trader when I went to school. I decided, no, I don't actually want to do that. The next semester I said, okay, this time, let me try psychology. I tried that, didn't like that. I said, okay, let me try human factors. So I did that for a semester and didn't like that. And then I said, okay, well, I have no idea what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to do computer science because that's at least an interest that I've had. And, worst case scenario, I come out with a degree from a good school in a, very successful field right now where it's easy to get a job and things generally work out.
Confused yet? Yeah, us too. With all these opportunities to choose from and the high chance that your path will take you through the unexpected, what should you do?
So I think the first thing is tapping into their own inner feelings and what do they want to do, what excites them, what are their passions. So trying to figure out if a student should be in a particular club or activity, or they should be in an engineering club, or they should be in a health careers program or a mechanical engineering, set of classes. And so figuring out first what their passions is and also what are they good at. So looking realistically, hey, are you doing well in science classes? Is science really hard? Maybe you don't want to be a doctor. Maybe that's not the best path for you because you're going to continue to take more and more challenging science classes. So how do we think about finding other things you are good at rather than kind of continuing to be stressed about not doing well in those?
I've had a really irregular path, but everything I've done has been geared around what I want to do in my life. So there's been no downtime. Like even if I took a year off, that year was spent doing something. And I think that's the big thing employers and educators want to see, that is if you want to take a year to travel the earth, to do whatever, you can do that. But don't take a year of being a bum and just having nothing to show for that year, and you've just wasted a year of your life and you have nothing to explain to somebody that this is what I've been doing. You just always be productive, and that's what I've done. Is like, even when I was on the lower end of things, I was always being productive, always organizing in the community, building a greater network of people. And as a result, when I ran for office and nobody thought I could win, I won because I spent the past 8 years organizing.
My biggest advice is to think about what's going to make you happy every day getting up and doing it. Something that you can get paid for. Obviously, everyone has hobbies and other things. But what is the thing that you can imagine yourself doing that really makes you happy?
So we found out that alternative paths start with recognizing your opportunities, then accepting the irregular path you might have to take. However, you need to face it all with a clear vision of what brings meaning and happiness to your life. So what's next? Stay tuned for our final episode in our series, where we'll cover your go-to resources for making your happiness a reality.